Welcome to episode 1, season 2 on the Gadd Health Podcast, real talk and women's wellness.
Today we cover our story, how we got here, who we are, and a little bit about what we do.
Hope you enjoy the episode. Lisa Jane, tell the listeners who is sat before them. Who is Lisa Jane and what brought her to start Gadd Health and Wellness?
So I'm Lisa Jane Gadd as of last year. I'm 31 and growing up I went through loads of energy. So my mum put me into dancing. That dancing led to bodybuilding. Bodybuilding led to personal training. A bit of a redirection when I tried to go to uni that we'll not go into, but thought I was going to be a dietitian and failed my university offer by one point. So decided maybe I'm just not supposed to do that and done my personal training qualification instead. And since I've obviously invested a lot of time and money into becoming the best personal trainer that I can be. Obviously there's a whole journey in between that, as you know, why did I even want to be a dietitian, never mind a personal trainer? And obviously a lot of that comes from the bodybuilding, but you know, growing up as a dancer I used to live on Jaffa cakes and pot noodles and Lucozade orange.
Honesty at the finest.
Yeah, really not a great diet, but you know, you'd be sitting on really hard wooden benches all day at dance shows and the only thing you could find was a kettle and have a pot noodle and some Jaffa cakes. So that was obviously my nutrition as a child, and then getting into bodybuilding, you know, coming up through dancing into going to the gym. And just one day in the gym, one of the personal trainers came up and was like, you should do a bodybuilding show. You think?
I was going to lead in, how did you get into bodybuilding? I feel like I forgot.
Yeah, he just said that you should try it, and I thought maybe we'll give it a go, something to focus on. So that was obviously 2015, and I continued competing right through to the end of 2019. So quite a few shows in the bag. And first few shows, what I will say is I didn't look anything like what I thought I was going to look like, in the sense that it took me until the end of my competitive seasons to think, do you know what, actually look alright, look like a bodybuilder, very, very trim, but that's still kind of the category I went for, was the bikini category. So you weren't about being like big hench muscle, you know, it was just kind of, I don't even want to say the body you want to be in a bikini on the beach. Like, it's definitely nothing like that, especially being mahogany, the colour that you end up being. But
it's very strange. It's actually called a sport for anyone that's listening. Yeah. It's the strangest sport going.
I think a subjective sport.
Misconception is people that are listening to this that may have thought it was only for men as well.
Yeah. And I guess as well, like, people, when you say you do like bodybuilding shows, they're like, oh, do you get up on the stage and like test your strength?
Yeah,
there's powerlifting and what's the other one, like strongman and things like that. But bodybuilding is like the showing off of the body you've built, I guess. So yeah, obviously I'd done a couple of shows, and I think it was about 4 shows in, maybe 3 shows coming up to the 3rd show, and just ended down a slippery slope with food. I was on a call this morning with a client. She used the words food noise, and it's so true. You know, you're always thinking about food. You want to be eating food. Once you've had one meal, you're thinking about the next meal. Snack attacks galore.
Thinking about the second before you've eaten the first.
Yeah. So for me, I guess, like, I was seeing other bodybuilders around me that were able to eat more than me, because maybe they just have more muscle, maybe they were more seasoned athlete, maybe they were men, you know, they could eat more than me, and I just felt so restricted. I was on a keto diet and all at that stage, you know, trying everything. And for me then, I just started trying to use laxatives as a way to, you know, cut back the calories that I was consuming. And it's not even like consuming, it's kind of like, you know, the guilt and everything that comes with having these calories that you're not supposed to be having. So with bulimia, you know, people often think about it as just people putting their fingers down the throat, making themselves sick, whatever, but it does kind of cover, you know, the use of laxatives, over exercising, over restricting of food. They all kind of fall into that. And obviously you've that blend between disordered eating and eating disorder, like where are you at on that kind of sliding scale, and always recommend getting the help and support around those specific things. And that's what I did, you know, coming into my third season of competing. Then I had seen a girl on my second or my last show in 2016 who was eating sandwiches and crisps and cookies, and I was like, right, how's this chick doing this? Yet she's competing against me in the British finals and looks pretty much as good as me. I just messaged and I was like, who are you working with? How are you doing this? What's going on? And she was working with a nutritionist, and up to that point I'd always worked with male personal trainers that were bodybuilders that probably actually didn't even have a qualification. Now I think about it,
clue.
You know, they were standing on stage, or they weren't even, and I just thought, well, they look good and I know they've got other people into condition, but I was only a young girl, and it really, you know, now in development I realise how much that potentially did harm me for the amount of years that I was doing.
Advantage of.
Yeah.
I think it's a perfect time for a quick segues. Like, for anyone that isn't really aware, like, tell us a wee bit about like how you get into such good shape and how that developed into eating disorder, because it's obviously very little nutrition,
Calories,
you know.
yeah,
so
yeah.
it's obviously the process of body fat loss.
Yeah.
Talk quickly about that, maybe.
I would never have known what calories or anything I was on with the meal coaches, you know, because they weren't really, they would just give you a meal plan, yeah, and it would be like 6 eggs for breakfast, maybe 2 or 3 of them had yolks, and then the rest was egg whites. Cauliflower rice, which I found out later that I was intolerant to, was causing mad bloating. You know, there's no personalization in the sense of how are these foods for you.
It's very low calorie, it's stock template, and it's very low nutrition as well. Cut out the egg yolks where all the healthy fats are in, healthy nutrients.
And you were just eating the same foods every day anyway, so you'd no other rotation of like nutrients coming in. It was just the same stuff all the time, and it does cause a lot of like digestive issues and stuff. It's
very low calorie, you know.
Yeah,
low calorie
to
get your body in a state where it wants to lose body fat.
Yeah, like, and I don't even want to actually like state the awareness of, you know, the calories that I know that I got to at one stage in that bodybuilding phase, because if I use that and someone goes and does that, like, it's scary
it's
to know. And
it's dangerous. Like,
I know from now with my education that some clients do need to diet on low calories, but we would never have them dieting that low, because we would just get them like maybe moving their body more or building more muscle. And that was one thing I then done after, you know, having the bulimia and stuff, was I actually took a year out to build more muscle so I could diet the next year on more calories. So big up building muscle. Like I used to, I would have had like 3-4 meals a day, but everything was very low calorie. I was going to say low fat, because you're obviously most of your calories are made up of fats whenever it comes to how many calories per gram of macro. But it's, you know, because you're losing the fats, that's where I guess the hormones as well get really impacted. But I can't really remember the first few seasons did I lose my menstrual cycle. The last season was probably the one I really poured my heart and soul into, and that was in 2019. I dieted basically from the start of the year, nearly the whole way through. I dieted for 42 weeks. Wow. I did lose 25 kilo. Now, I started off a bit heavier than I currently am, but not by crazy amounts. I've never been in a massively larger body.
Thin, like.
Yeah.
Losing 25 kilos for some people is a complete life transformation. For you, you're already lean.
Yeah.
It was you getting down to like, you know, skeleton really, you know, shredded.
No energy. Lost my menstrual cycle for 10 months. My hair was falling out. My skin was awful. I looked like a rag doll really. Like, you know, your eyes and your cheeks and all are so gaunt, and even your teeth, like, just feels like
your
everything.
gums were sink.
Yeah.
So
it's mad the impact it has in the body.
That was 2019. Was that your last show?
That was last
show. That was
your
last show. Were you working with the nutritionists?
Yeah, I worked with the same girl that I did in 2017, the nutritionist, who was also like, you know.
She didn't advise the 42-week dieting, did she?
It's hard to say she didn't, you know, if this is a show that you're doing. Now, I dieted for 20 weeks for other shows, which meant they were more intense in ways. Obviously, the 42 weeks is still very intense, and come the last phases, I was doing 90 minutes of cardio 7 days a week, as well as strength training 5 days a week. So
crazy output, crazy low intake. Your body was just saying, F you.
Yeah.
There's no energy available to have a menstrual cycle.
Yeah. There's either a famine or a war out there. I can't conceive babies, so I'll switch this off.
Yeah, so your body's in complete fight or flight response. You done quite well on the show though, didn't you? You got second.
The thing is, like, I always did do well, you know, and I guess people don't realise I was a bodybuilder. I don't really look like a bodybuilder, but I was 3 times Northern Ireland champion, competed in the British finals 3 times as well. So usually if I competed, the first show I competed here, the second show I didn't, you know, was a new year, done the show here, the show here, the British, and then went to England to compete in a new age category, new federation, and across the water, which was all going to be harder in each element of its own. And that was my last year competing. I got 3rd then, because obviously it was against older, better qualified, higher standard of athletes, and then still went to the British finals and got into top 11 every year. Kind of, I think maybe 2016 I didn't get into the top 10, but you know, I always done well in competing. But funny, in my very, very last show in the finals, the judge said to me, "You can tell you're a natural." And that doesn't mean like a natural on stage. That means a natural bodybuilder, as in I don't have the dense muscle that other girls that within bodybuilding use steroids.
Yeah.
So
PEDs, performance enhancing drugs.
Yeah.
It's quite a big thing in bodybuilding. It's quite a toxic
Doesn't
industry.
matter
It's quite
if
a
you're male or
toxic sport,
female.
toxic industry. But that wasn't you, obviously. You sort of fast forward, you gave up bodybuilding, didn't you?
Yeah, so because I guess with my bulimia, there's a scar there in the sense of habits, coping skills, coping mechanisms, etc. And off the back of my 2019 prep, the last show that I did, I just kind of went through a bit of an emotional time, was super receptive to putting on fat because I was obviously in such a lean state. And based on the emotions, I didn't use any laxatives or anything like that on the back end of that show, but I was binge eating. So I put 20 kilo back on in 10 weeks. So it took me 42 to take 25 off, and it took me 10 to put 20 back on. Now that wasn't £20 of fat. I was so inflamed. Like if you touched my body, you would see like it would just go pure white, and like I was so bloated, my joints were sore, my body hurt. So, you know, both of them had real disadvantages and really did kind of upset the rhythm of my body. It did obviously take me a while to get my period back, and I was just like, this isn't really like worth the process that it's going through. But obviously that was 2019. What happened in 2020? Things started to change in my life and in the world. And 2021 I met someone that knew a lot about health, i.e. you.
It was your breakdown for your breakthrough, as we kind of say a lot. And I always say as well, your pain becomes your purpose. You essentially went through this cookie cutter plan from personal trainers, do this, it destroyed your health. For people that don't know, that such aggressive dieting, it downregulates your thyroid health, downregulates adrenal output, your adrenal glands. As you said, you lost your period, you lost your hair, crazy stuff.
Yeah, and I guess it was working with Amelia, who was the female bodybuilding nutritionist in 2017, that inspired me to then
to
go
do
on
something
and do
different.
My personal training qualification then. So I qualified in 2018. It was kind of off the back of 2017 shows. I done my level 2 and then into my level 3 in 2018.
You wanted to
be a
as
change.
far as I'm aware, you wanted to create a change. You were given this cookie cutter plan that at the time you didn't know any better, but you realised that it shouldn't be that way. You wanted to help other women that were by no means wanting to be bodybuilders, or were just women that had poor health, overweight, and you wanted to do something different for them.
I remember people, whenever I qualified, they were like, oh, so are you going to help people prep? And we see that all the time, as you know, someone does a bodybuilding show or a photo shoot, and then they become an online coach that preps everyone to do the same thing that they did, just because they had success.
They give the plan out that they got by their coach, and it's like a 10th handed down plan.
But my thing was, no, I never wanted to work with that kind of client. I wanted to work with clients that had probably never trained because of no bad habits. Let's face that. but also that, they wanted to feel better, wanted to be guided through a healthier process than the cookie cutter.
I think the big thing coming to me as well, it's like you and I as well, we wanted to be available for people that were struggling. Like there's such a low option of health first personal trainers. There's so many people out there that need help, and their options are the bodybuilder PTs, the PTs that are scrolling on their phones, people that don't care, and that we wanted to be something different. So you said about how we met in 2021. Amazing time, all during lockdown. We both had the exact same vision when we met, to open this facility. Well, we didn't know it was this facility. Open a facility that was more than a gym. We never wanted to be standard PTs, and we never were.
No, it's very hard to work in someone else's gym and facility. We've worked in like moldy gyms, we've worked in underground gyms, I guess, lots of different environments. And I'm so grateful, even the first gym that I worked at was how it was, and it led me on such a journey, which from personal training in Carrickfergus, moved then to Belfast, went online, we went traveling in Thailand, we then got a job in Saudi Arabia, and then we came back and we done this, because the whole time, like, I knew I always wanted somewhere where my beliefs on health and fitness could be totally channeled. Working from those facilities, when there's mold on the walls, you're like, but I'm in disagreement with this. Maybe you see someone, I remember seeing a personal trainer using a ski erg, which is a cardiovascular machine, to train triceps.
Oh my god.
I was like, what's going on here? So it's like, they're the people that you're working with. I know that he helps some change for some people's lives, but it's not what I wanted to be working alongside. Seeing one of the personal trainers in Saudi doing someone's blood pressure mid-training session, I'm like, are these people for real? Is this the standard of knowledge that they have? And it's not to shun them, but come on, we can do better than that. And that's why, having our facility, we want to be that centre of excellence, like we've been mentored into, because we have access to these incredible people. Kind of thanks to you. Coming back to your journey and how, like, why are you a personal trainer? Why did that kick off? Who did you meet that really changed the direction? Because how come you're not a bodybuilding online coach, muscle man? You've obviously had your own journey to health and your own struggles, but then finding the people that you found really kind of landed you on your feet.
Like I feel like I've always been different in some way. I grew up as a really happy kid to start with. My story is that I've moved about a lot, and that has left me feeling with like lack of roots. I've lived in over 20 houses. I'm 26, and I never really felt like I had a home. Moved between 3 different schools. Was bullied a lot as a kid.
3 schools, like during primary school?
No, 2 primary schools, 1 high school, and bullied first primary school, second one. This is so funny. It's like I was bullied in the first one, moved to a new school, was loved there. And then I thought I was like the bee's knees. The first day of first year in high school, I was seriously bullied again, and then there on, so it was such a shock. Obviously, at the time, and as a teenager, I never knew about the nervous system or stress. But nowadays, I know the constant moving, the constant bullying. I love my parents, but there was quite a bit of a, what would you say, broken household at times, and that caused a lot of stress. It's chronic stress on me as a child.
And not portrayed by your parents.
Not that anybody ever put on me. It's the lack of safety that my nervous system felt, hearing different things, bullying, moving.
Again, kind of like the war, like you don't know if there's bombs coming down or
your nervous system,
door being slammed.
Your nervous system doesn't know the difference. Our nervous system, our brain, our spinal cord, it's evolutionary. Fight or flight response is the same as it was 2,000 years ago, with different triggers. But yeah, I was always quite sporty as a kid. I would have said I was quite a bit of an athlete.
I heard you were good at running and all.
Rugby, hockey, athletics, you name it, I've kind of done it all. I I never really pursued any of them like deeply. I could have made a great wee athlete, but I remember one of my teachers contacting me a few years ago. You would have been a great athlete at anything, and I replied, self-doubt and lack of confidence would destroy anyone's.
Was that off the
dreams.
back of the charity cycle?
Yeah, so like that's it. I got into cycling, got into running. I cycled 1,000 kilometers the perimeter of Northern Ireland for a mental health charity. We've done a marathon last year, so I've always been into sport. I would have called myself an athlete, but never pursued them out of self-doubt and mostly mental health struggles. That your story is maybe a bit more of like the physical health, and mine was always mental health. I at the time, as a kid, especially as teenagers, you don't really know what anxiety is. I think only like it was only last year that I realized, oh my goodness, like I've experienced a lot of anxiety. I would have always called it like depression, but to me, depression is like living in the past, dwelling on things. Anxiety is a fear of the future.
Yeah.
I would have always been like a busy mind, and
you're always forward thinking, like
yeah,
you're never
forward
really
thinking,
thinking about your past and being like, oh, how awful was that?
Exactly.
You're often...
and I think I had a great childhood, and I have such good memories with my cousins and my family. We never had much, but we always had enough. We never went on like holidays or anything, but we always had enough. And I didn't really know what to do with it as a career. It's that whole thing of GCSEs, A levels. You never know what to do. How can you?
Because you done your A levels, didn't you?
How can you know what to do at such a young age? But I excelled in like sport and exercise science at GCSE level, PE, all that sort of stuff. A star in that at A levels, and I had applied to go to uni in Scotland to do sports studies. Glad I didn't. BS degree. Started working in a factory, aircraft factory, did different jobs. I had worked in a bicycle shop since I was 13 and a half. I just kind of started working after school between 2 or 3 different jobs. Did that for a while, and
again, that's almost like the house move. It was like have to have all these jobs.
Yeah, but it's again, we never had much, so I was always working really hard. I done like entrepreneurial ventures since I was like 8. I used to go to Asda, buy bulk bags of sweets and crisps, bring them to school, sell them all for £1. Used to make a fortune. I used to chop up firelighters, walk around doors and knock on them at like 10. Like, come on. People bought them because they felt sorry for me.
And it's interesting you just saying that. I just want to share that, like, as much as I had this vision of having my own facility, and I literally had a shopping list on a whiteboard at the bottom of my bed, I don't believe I would have ever done it had I not have met you.
Yeah.
You are the visionary, the person that expands my
capacity of what's possible.
Yeah, I wanted it, but I just never would have had the confidence and stuff to kind of do that. I would have loved it, early on. I probably would have said, oh, I'll do it in 10 years. Like it's all just vision or desire, but because of your entrepreneurial dream and always having that ambition, that's kind of what did bring us to here.
Yeah, and like I just reflect, like, where did that ever come from in me? And it's like, one, probably my dad was a business owner. 2, again, we never had much, so there was always that drive to go and make stuff for myself.
You wanted more.
I wanted more. Like, I had 4 different entrepreneurial journeys as a kid. I used to collect driftwood at the beaches, dry it out, season it, make like cabinets,
cabinet in our house that
coffee
you made
tables.
when you were
12. I used to go to craft fairs and sell these for 25-30 quid. Like, I remember buying a quad for like £600 with my own money at like 13, and like, I always worked so hard, and that led me to go do my personal training. I was so into this sport. I remember doing the personal training qualification. I think it was like 8 or 10 weeks long, which I think to this day blows my mind. There's certain courses out there that are slightly longer. but most of them are quite short. And it's like, I always use the analogy of, personal training, you're dealing with people's health. You're not obviously giving them medication, but you can recommend supplements and stuff. Why does a personal trainer get qualified in 8 weeks and a doctor takes 5 years and placements? Like, there's no required placements for a personal trainer.
I seen Lenny talking about this in a story recently about, was it our accent translated it to her, as in a her, not a her academy. And I think the qualification was 2 years long in the her academy.
Yeah. But it's like you can butcher someone's hair and it grows back. You butcher someone's back, it won't grow back. It blows my mind. Like 8 weeks I was qualified in, and I was like, I know nothing. How can I just go out into Pure Gym in Lisburn or wherever and start training people? I know nothing. Like, so but that was me with my integrity as an 18-year-old. I
also
knew
your fear
of
your anxiety as such.
Fear, anxiety, but also integrity. So I was following a guy on Instagram, Travis Jones. He had 23 gyms, and I loved his entrepreneurial spirit. This man was only in his 30s, 23 gyms that he owned them all. They weren't affiliates. And I just messaged him. I was like, dude, I love what you're doing. I want to go to Sydney, or I want to go to Australia. I don't really know what to do with my life. I have a personal training qualification. Any job's going. I was there working. 3 weeks later, visa came within 24 hours when I applied. Went to a travelers agent in Warren Point, booked my flights. I think it was all the money I had at the time.
And when you flew out there, your sister was there. Did you go straight to stay with her?
I met Amy in Bondi, stayed there. I think I stayed with her in a 1-room apartment. I stayed on her living room floor, which was also the kitchen and the bedroom, for 3 weeks. God love you, Amy. And I was getting the bus, I think, to a wee place called Chatswood. It was where the gym was working there. Started staying in the gym, started sleeping in the gym. So yeah, I've slept on a gym floor.
And they originally didn't know.
They originally didn't know. Yeah, I was sleeping in there to save money.
Like, go sleep in our gym floor. It's fine. Like, I'll let you know. You don't have to be in the bed.
I just I've done so many like entrepreneurial things that you would read in books, like slept on a gym floor, and didn't end up loving that job. Only stayed in it for about 5 months, I think. Moved to Brisbane. So when I worked for that company, they had brought in an educator, Luke Lehman, and I didn't know anything about the guy, but I just went to it because it was staff education. I loved this guy. Like, I just couldn't get enough of it. I was already so passionate about learning more, but he was talking about this concept of least mode, how most like training programs are all for like athletes, but how Muscle Nerds is the company Luke created, seen a gap in the industry where 99% of the personal training clientele is general population people that we train. They're not athletes. So he started creating programs and health modalities to train gen pop people. He was talking about stress physiology. He was talking about taking people's blood pressure, assessing their posture, and I was like, I can't get enough of this. I loved it. He liked me too. We got good crack. So I think it was 2 weeks after the seminar, I messaged him. I was like,
you were considering going home?
I had booked a flight to go home because I was really miserable. Bear in mind, I was living with anxiety, depression all through my teen years, on and off. I was out there really, really like missing home. I wasn't doing great financially. I kept investing in courses and stuff, getting burnt by business coaches. I sent Luke a message. I said, hey dude, loved what you taught. Have you any jobs going? He ignored me, and I stayed at that job he ignored me, and then I booked a flight home. I booked it home for the 11th of February 2019, I think it was 2019, and the day of the flight I was sitting in Bondi on Amy's sofa, and I should have left. I should have got a taxi, and my bag was packed, and I just said, I'm not going home, Amy. I'm not going. 600 quid down the drain, and said, I'm going to Brisbane. I'm going to go work for Luke. Have you messaged him? Nope. My last $50 to my name. Got a hitchhike to Brisbane, 1,000 kilometres, sitting beside this German dude driving and a Korean girl just hitchhiking, and landed in Brisbane. Went to Balimba where Luke lives. Said, "Luke, I'm in Balimba. Can we chat?" And he says, "That's some guts. Come on around." So I went to his house, started working for him, doing just like admin
You
stuff.
stayed with him originally?
No, I stayed in a hostel.
Hostel.
I stayed in that hostel in Brisbane for about 35 days or something. It took me a good while to sort of get working for them because they were just so busy, but I was determined. I stayed in that hostel for 35 days, kept messaging them, kept messaging them. Finally, persistence got through, and they gave me admin work, and I was in some like videos on their program design course, and I just kept soaking up their knowledge. Like the work they got me doing was also helping me learn from them, studying from them. So I just was absorbing all this stuff. Started working in another gym, but again, it's just my anxiety at the time. Like I find it so hard to approach prospective clients. So don't approach
You
people.
did.
Yeah, you don't approach people, you're not going to get clients as a personal trainer. So wasn't making any money. That will obviously there a wee bit of money. So I just had enough. I went home. I was missing loads of stuff here. There was loads of stuff. I was working in a restaurant that the biggest shambles ever, and
Pouring beer down people's backs.
oh, terrible. But I just had enough, and I went home at a year. Still carried on working with them sort of like on a casual basis for another 3 or 4 years after that, and came home, just got stuck into my own business. Started a business called Kaizen Health and Performance, which Kaizen is a Japanese principle used in business. It just essentially means like 1% better. So I love
And
that.
we kind of adapt that into what we do. You know,
exactly.
we're always striving again for excellence.
LJ Fitness was your business, which was like female health, which is what we do now, and Kaizen was get better every day, the center of excellence. So yeah, came home, done my own business. On and off anxiety for the next few years really. Got to, similar to you, my lowest point, and that was the breaking point, the breakthrough. Did some deep, intense therapy with certain people. They could find breath work over lockdown. Met you, and the rest is history, really. But yeah, so it's been a beautiful journey. I'm really proud of my journey, and I'm still very young, so I'm really, really excited for what the future holds. But
and we haven't finished educating ourselves in any of that time, since we've met. We've worked with quite a few mentors and done quite a few courses, travelled back and forth places.
Introduced me. Luke worked for this group called Poliquin Group. It was a guy called Charles Poliquin, and every person that was the best in the fitness industry had learned from Charles. So Luke had worked for him. So then Luke, when I was going home, he said you should connect with Owen Lacey, and Owen had also worked for Poliquin Group. So I hounded Owen. I went to a few of his courses and stuff. Went to a few float tanks down in Malahide, and it's like, Owen, can I come work for you? So I worked for Owen then, and I was also working for Luke online. So just surrounded by all these really knowledgeable people, and obviously I was driving from Kilkeel to Newry, training people in Newry to Dublin to back to Newry to Kilkeel. It was like 170-mile round trip 3 times a week, plus Kilkeel to Newry the other 3 days. It just got too much to me, and I stopped working there, and then went to Thailand with you, went for a month. Got an offer from Owen while we were out there to go and work in Saudi Arabia for another Poliquin Group guy. I'm still very friendly with Owen, and his friend had opened some of these gyms in Saudi. Did that, so worked for 4 different Poliquin Group educated coaches, and so just accumulated a lot of knowledge. I think, like, I'm not afraid to say that I believe I'm one of the most knowledgeable coaches in Belfast. I can get some of the best results. Obviously, as you said, I've taught you a lot of things, you've taught me things, so we combine this experience to give people an amazing experience, amazing results here.
Like, we're very lucky. We've done, I don't know how many days worth of intern
with
internships. Owen now.
I think about 6 or 7, or about 6 maybe, and yeah, both of us spent 20 20k plus on our continuing education.
When did we go to Sligo?
Oh,
Remember that?
no
That was
idea.
like your birthday, or was it
Yeah,
my birthday?
Your
Maybe
birthday, yeah.
was that 2022? Would that be right?
No idea.
I think it would be. I remember when we were in Sligo as well. You know, you said to me, "You need to get a mentor."
Oh yeah, that's right.
And
You found Leo.
yeah, I kind of remember finding him. I remember like looking at a few people. No
I
idea.
suggested him to you, did I?
I don't know. I remember looking at his stories or his highlights or something, and it was saying about, you know, basically his mentees. And I remember replying to his story being like, yeah, but like, what do you do and how do I do it?
Yeah.
As in, how do I get on board?
Why
And
would I buy into your thing as well?
yeah, like I just didn't really understand. Leo's not that great at social media in that sense.
Leo's a great coach.
But he is the most passionate male about female
Female health.
physiology
Yeah,
that
yeah,
I
yeah.
had found to this point. So I spent, I'd say, 6 months doing mentorship with him, and then 6 months being his client,
Yeah.
which obviously taught me so much. And as much as I was already a female only coach, the amount of stuff that I learned from that has really then helped me in building this facility as well, because I understand kind of like the hierarchy of, you know, your hormones at the top, and if we look after the hormones, not much is gonna kind of change down the way. But if we focus on like sleep, stress, training, well, not even training, but nutrition, I guess, least
Movement.
mode style training, and then obviously impacting the less stress on the body, that can work up the way and really benefit the hormones, rather than, you know, I was losing my hormones as such because I was so underfed and super stressed. And to be fair, my sleep was probably all over the show too. I remember I used to have to nap all the time, or I'd be double timing my caffeine. You know, I'll have caffeine at this time and caffeine at that time, and just to get through my day. Thought, yeah, because, you know, we've really met some fantastic mentors, has really kind of encouraged us to have gain this building being the full solution to female health. And you know, we weren't always a female only facility, nor was it ever really the intention.
It was never the intention. Like we always had the same vision when we met of a gym that was more than a gym, that had like recovery facilities, that was, you know, had yoga, wellness aspects. We had the exact same vision before we even met, and then we brought it together.
And we met via breathwork.
Yeah, via breathwork. But so, yeah, like for anyone listening that maybe doesn't know who we are or hasn't been here, like give them a wee virtual tour of what our facility is, Lisa.
Cool. So we never really aimed for it to be the size, shape, layout. We didn't really know how what we wanted would all come together, but it's fantastic that we're across 2 floors.
Yeah.
We knocked down a big wall, so we have 7 rooms, expanding that front space into our small group training facility. So our strength room, really, we kind of do strength only work in there, and it is
Female only, small group personal training.
1 to 6. It's a really lovely space. Someone was looking at a new gym recently, and quite a few people were tagging me underneath of it, and as soon as I said, I promise, like, it's the least masculine gym you'll probably ever find. Like, I know other female only facilities, but they're still very gymmy. I feel like what we have is very clinical.
Most gyms like paint their walls dark and the roof paint the walls and the roof black, and it's like, is that just to hide that you don't clean?
Or the mold.
We use loads of plants and light, and so that's the gym. Moving on through, there's
where we are now.
Yeah.
Is our multi-studio. So obviously we've set it up recently for podcasting, and it gets rented out throughout the day, some days in the middle of the week, for different kind of therapies. We've got a trauma therapist that works from here, etc. We also use it as our waiting room for our clients morning and evenings. Nice just little chill space. We've got a big stacked library over there, which is fantastic. If clients are early or kind of want to linger around, they can grab a cup of tea and come in here and sit with the book, because across the hall from here then we have our cardio.
Coffee and cardio.
I was like, cardio and kitchen? That doesn't sound right. coffee and cardio room. So our cardiovascular pieces are in there. Again, we have 6 and we have a selection of 4 different styles of machines just to kind of give that variety depending on needs, body types, all different things like that, and lots of different like herbal teas with lots of different benefits depending on the person, some supplements, filtered water, all sorts of good stuff. Then beside me as the
our lovely
sun is kind of
Serenity
trying to
garden.
set.
It's really bloomed with
Wow.
the spring and summer, so it's a lovely wee space. Do you know what, that was the thing that sold the place to me? Not that we bought the building, but it really nailed it for me. We were looking so long for facilities. We were like, there's nothing available. I thought you'd come to Belfast, there'd be commercial units everywhere, and there was nothing. So we came and seen this space, and I was like, wow, like, because we had obviously worked in Saudi, and they had like all these different rooms. They had a wellness facility, they had their garden. I was like, wow, this is like a mini facility that we were working in. The garden was a mess, but we tidied it up obviously. But
we see the
really
vision.
Yeah, seeing the vision, and like we still have that video on our Instagram of before and after of the facility, and like someone else that was viewing it as a gym wellness center would be like, nah, this sucks. And like we done so much work all ourselves, and
I don't think anyone would have viewed it as a gym.
No, like we had so much alternative vision,
and I guess we're not a gym. We have a room that's a gym.
Yeah, exactly. You know, there's obviously downstairs. There's another room. There's a treatment room. We've 3 different practitioners working from there: massage, kinesiology, acupuncture. It's pretty cool to have all the different tools in our toolbox. You know, we don't send every client to every single thing. Gym, cardio, kinesiology. We don't do that. It's tools in the toolbox to use the right tool at the right time. You know,
we just wanted to bring things under one roof. In the last gym I was working in, I would be sending people to chiropractors and for saunas and things like that, but it's like I wanted all of those things to be here for time, convenience,
time, finances and convenience. Like when they're all like priced differently elsewhere, it's a fortune. It's kind of a package here, and ease of use. So I have plaques at the door. Downstairs, training and treatments. Upstairs is soul sessions and recovery. So we've got a soul studio, body studio, and mind studio. I love that as well. It's like obviously our methodology and a holistic approach is mind, body, soul. But then to have 3 rooms upstairs, I was like, this is perfect.
Without knocking down walls.
There
was just
tell
3.
us about those.
Although we did turn the cleaning cupboard into a shower.
That's
right. Funny, do we have photos of that? I feel like that's one thing that we never really...
Yeah, it's just a cleaner's sink, so there's obviously hot and cold supply and perfect space. I was like, let's rip that out. Let's put a lovely shower.
It's mad to think that that's what it ever was now on reflection.
Yeah, take photo. Lovely rainfall shower. Filtered water, yeah, to avoid lime scale, chlorine, heavy metals.
Your body is, or your body, your skin is one of the biggest organs, and it obviously absorbs everything. So filtered water for washing is always
Tell me about the Soul Studio, Body Studio. What are these? How do people
Soul Studio is a lovely big bright and eerie space, but at the same time can be really calm and cozy. It is used for what we call our soul sessions. So that is yoga, breathwork, mat-based Pilates and stretch class. All very restorative, slow, yin-based practices. So downstairs having our strength is what we call yang. Upstairs is yin. So obviously that balance between being fast, slow, fire, water. And we give all of our clients one of those every week. Sometimes, depending on how many classes we've got, sometimes we get some non-members coming in joining us as well, which is really cool. And clients absolutely love it, to be honest, don't they?
They'd probably enjoy that more than strength, but they need to do strength.
And so many people, obviously, so many gyms don't have that, at least not as frequent or complementary the way that we've kind of built it in. And again, that comes down to the stress management. But, they go to so many places and it's just all workouts. And then they come here and they're like, soul sessions. They love it. Just kicked Harley. And then obviously next door to that we have the body studio. which, as we said, again, trying to bring all the different modalities in. Some things that we already had at home, basically, because we had purchased them for our own benefits of our own nervous systems. We didn't have a sauna, but we do have a sauna in there. We had a smaller red light for at home, and now we've expanded the one we have here to be a full red light panel. Compression therapy, which is bliss, PEMF therapy, and then the audio visual therapy, which we did purchase about 2-3 years ago.
So lots of different therapies. Yeah, you've taken on my things. Lots of different therapies, nervous system calming, body-based recovery. So that's what's the body studio. Mind studio is currently in a wee bit of redevelopment, so I'll not share that to you. But think mind-based practices, mind-based relaxation. So that is our facility. It's pretty cool. 2 floors. Training and treatments, soul sessions and recovery. And it's like, you spoke about how it was the yin and the yang. That's obviously in our logo, but some people like still aren't aware what that is. So maybe like, why did we use that yin and the yang symbol? What is that? You mentioned it briefly, but maybe if you could do that a bit more.
Yeah, so obviously we've used the blue and the orange as well. I don't really even remember developing our logo with as much intention as it came out as.
I think we done it in Saudi. We were developing our business while we were in Saudi.
Yeah.
And I think we just sort of like, yeah, that'll do.
Yeah. So like our Gadd, the actual writing is all in blue. And again, we developed it in Saudi, but yet the building that we have, all the window frames and the doors were blue. Which that's what I mean. Like, it was so unintentional, but became so intentional. So yeah, maybe depending on the video, you can maybe see my nice logo. So obviously we've got our yin yang, fire and water, masculine, feminine, doing, being, and it's just that kind of, one is the hard and one is the easy, and obviously in rotation it's always about creating that balance, and it never really stops. Rather than balance, it's always balancing, because you're kind of moving through
the state of flow.
Yeah. And in the way that our sessions are kind of built is we therefore have 3 yang based, as in 3 strength classes per week, and 3 yin based in the sense of a recovery style class and recovery treatments per week. So really, again, trying to create that balance for always balancing, and just really, rather than it just being, come in, you train, you're beasted, you're annihilated, you crawl out of here after 1,000 burpees and whatever else. There really is that balance between, you come in, you do train hard, the program isn't that intense, but then you recover hard.
Yeah, and that's a key thing as well, is like smart and intentional programming. Like, I won't name names, but I think I seen, it was like, I've never started a workout with 200 burpees before, and it's like, any personal trainer, any Joe Dingleberry can make someone sweat, but that means AFA. Smart program will create coherence in people's joints. It will realign joints. It will stimulate the right muscle fibers. There's 3 main muscle fiber types. It's like, do you even know what you're stimulating with a certain type of programming? Cardiovascular fitness, most people just use as calorie burn and sweating, but we use it as energy system training. So every program that we use is designed to drive an adaptation. It's called specific adaptation to impose demands. What adaptation are you trying to drive? Your program is like questions to the body, rather than just do burpees and sweat. So it's we do a lot of intentional programming, which gets people's results. But I think we forgot to sort of mention is like that blue and orange. It's the fire and water, which is pretty cool. And that was the thing with us as well. It's like masculine, feminine. So we are a husband and wife team. We probably haven't shared. We got married last year, but husband and wife team. We are the fire and water. You're the integrator. I'm the visionary, and
you're the chaotic one. I'm the calm.
She walks the middle road. So it's a pretty cool balance that we've got going on. But I guess like we have a few different values that we try and operate this business from. It's great having all these treatments and programming styles, but it doesn't mean anything if the service isn't a specific way. So we base our service off 6 core values.
Six.
Five, sorry. Five core values, which, in a lot of businesses they maybe wrote on the wall, and it's like they're not really.
Well, some people don't even have core values.
Yeah, they don't really know what it means, but we are very proud that these aren't just words; they're what we base our service off.
Starting from the top, health first. Because it's first.
Health first approach.
Yeah, client led. So rather than me give you the cookie cutter diet like I was given, it's you telling me what you can do. Is it doable, maintainable, sustainable? Can you keep it for the long term? Because that's what's important for your results.
Client led as well, like just coached.
Yeah.
Not just in and out. Every client that we have, we spend at least an hour, sometimes 90 minutes with initially, like a deep dive consultation, nutrition, lifestyle, stress exposure, sleep, supplement, food diary. Like we go so deep, like, and some people. And
that's the initial, but it's not to say it's
ongoing,
left at that either.
Ongoing,
Popping through about 2 hours ago, I was doing feedback for clients' nutrition. This morning during a session, client couldn't feel the muscle that they're supposed to be working. I moved something from a barbell into a ring. Boom, done.
So it's coach led, which client led but coached, with weekly check-ins if not every client wants to do it, and that's okay. Monthly consultations, proper personal training, coaching. So health first approach, client led. Love the one I sort of love. I got it from a guy, Jeff Rams. Celebrity service. Every client is a celebrity. Doesn't matter if it's Beyonce or Mary. Everybody is a celebrity, and
celebrating them obviously in celebrity service.
Yeah, exactly.
Full solution. I think I did.
Full solution to female health and wellness.
Yeah, it's like having everything here. If it's not here, having it within our network and referral schemes.
That's the key thing as well. Is like full solution doesn't necessarily mean it's like right here, right now. We have the networks to functional medicine doctors, to private medical doctors,
specialists.
Flotation tanks, psychologists, mental health therapists, so many different things that are all in our network, so we have that full solution.
And sometimes it's like our clients themselves can be a referral point. There was a conversation happening in the corridor the other day, a doctor giving advice for another client's daughter to get benefit of whatever the doctor does, but without it being the doctor doing. It's just connections.
That's the big thing I'm very proud of here, is the community that we're building. It's not just expert coaching, it's
that
expert coaching.
Stood there for 10-15 minutes sharing that information when she could have just went home.
It's expert coaching along with amazing community. And the last one is that it's safe space. It's safe space to a month ago you were a stranger, but now I'm crying in the hallway with this person that was a stranger not long ago. And one that I heard from Pat Dively once, it was like, and I think it was maybe Ronan, I can never tell you that you're safe. I can only create a space where I hope your nervous system feels safe. I can never tell you that you're safe.
I love that, because I feel like so many people don't even recognize that. They're just like, but it's safe. And then like in whose world?
We're obviously very holistic. Even us saying that, like, safe, like people are like, what are you talking about? There's no danger. But our nervous systems, whether you realize it or not, often don't feel like coherent, don't feel safe. So health first approach,
client led,
celebrity service,
full solution,
and safe space. That is what we base our business off. We're growing. We're obviously just past our first year. We're growing. We never opened with the intention of it being female only. That's just the way it led. But even on that, like, this podcast is going to be based towards like authentic conversation, but mainly female wellness, female health and wellness through mental, physical, spiritual, emotional. But it wasn't created as that initially. I created this podcast in October 2023. There's only like 6 episodes there or something, and for me back then it was very much about interviewing just people with cool stories and me sort of improving my network.
Still authentic
conversation, but not that female direction. And I didn't want to like start a full new podcast, because those podcasts are really valuable, there's one with Deirdre, Simon, Paul, a couple of my own that were like, stress management. So I thought they were really good to just leave up. But the direction of those first few maybe don't match where we're going right now.
Yeah.
But I just thought I would keep them up anyway. And
they'll get lost down the line eventually when we've done so many podcasts.
Yeah, so it's really cool what we've planned. Like some really, really exciting guests to come on. Female health and wellness experts. Not even they might not be in the health and wellness industry, maybe business.
They might be in the wellness, but not now.
So I guess like some of the episodes that we're going to do in future is talking about our methodology, which is the 4 health pillars, and maybe you want to share what they are.
I have mentioned them, but just not in that
detail.
I mentioned about the hierarchy, and for us, there's so many other things you can do, but without the 4 pillars in balance, and without one, everything's useless. Like if this chair you're sitting on, the leg was broke, that'd be on the floor. So our 4 health pillars are sleep, stress, training, and nutrition. And I always say them in that same format, and I always reiterate, for me, sleep and stress are kind of the 2 biggest, in the sense when your sleep's off or your stress really high, you're not going to make good food decisions and you're not going to train well. So in all the other facilities, I've never seen sleep and stress be such a big priority, and I really do believe it's one of the things that does make us different.
Absolutely. And I think it's a massively, he said that, but it's massively underlooked. People are like, here's your calories, how much calories should be on MyFitnessPal, blah blah blah, what's the best training program, but they sleep 5 hours a night, and they work 3 jobs, have 4 kids, have bills coming out of their ears, and that's not a person that you can slam with a hard training program.
No.
So it's something we're going to cover more, the 4 health pillars, but I do corporate talks on this, and had one
it's the foundation of
it's the
everything
foundation,
we do.
like if you have a hypothyroidism, or you have your menstrual health is compromised and you're trying to fix that with supplements, or biohacking, it's all, what is it, it's pissing into the wind. Put it that way. It's trying to put out a bonfire with a hose. So we have to focus on the 4 health pillars if we want to achieve peak health, energy, and performance. That's kind of what we try and do here with sleep and stress. Coaching is kind of like a 1-to-1 in the office. Nutrition is kind of like you have the ownership to do it. You send us through your meal plan, your calories, whatever your approach is. There's no one size fits all, and the training's done here. But we'll talk about that more in future episodes.
Just to leave it on one final note of Gadd. Obviously, we are the Gadds.
I think people probably they're getting used to that term, and the Gadd Health and Wellness. But Gadd, it's a unique name. Obviously, I married you last year in November, so you've taken on that name, which I'm very proud of. It's a name that I wasn't always proud of. I used to be bullied for it quite a lot. Oh my god, oh my Gadd, the amount of different spellings of things that came in the post.
And do you know what though? I haven't really had it yet.
Yeah, and I think people are maybe getting used to it. It's in shining lights.
Yeah.
So I think I used to try and hide from it. I used to push it away because it was different. Not that there's anything wrong with the name. It was different, and it's very scary, and it's humans are tribal beings. They would have been in tribes of around 20 people, but when you're the only Gadd, you're not in a tribe. There's so many. Like where I'm from, Kilkeel, there's so many McConnells and Spears and Cunninghams, and they all have this tribe of people, whereas I felt so outcast, I guess. I felt like a blow-in because I'd moved so many times as well, so I was very against the name. It was my friend, mentor, best man, Simon. He said, step into it, that's your power. He had the same thing, renewal, he hated it. Newell, he hated it, but he created his business Renewal, and he stepped into that power. So that's what I have done. I love the name now.
And funny, in the last 2 months, we have a member who is also a
I've
Gadd.
seen the inquiry come through. I was like, what is this? Is this like a piss take?
Has someone put our surname in because they don't want to give
Yeah,
us
I
theirs?
thought it was like, is this a piss take? And she's not related to us. She
Nope.
lives in Belfast, lovely member, and we love her to bits. But really proud of the name, stepping into it, and we actually coined the sort of term or the acronym. Sorry, Great Actions Done Daily, GADD, and it was just like, step into that power. It's now in shining lights. We've changed our branding a wee bit to make it more clear as to what we actually do.
Yeah.
And that's business. Business will evolve, but we're really, really proud of that name.
Yeah.
And we are putting it in shining lights. We're going to do big things. We are doing big things. Excited for what's to come.
So go out there and get it. Great Actions Done Daily.
Let's do it.
Overnight.
Overnight.